Hi, boys and girls. It is currently Sunday night at 8:30, and I am going to do the first breakdown of Walk Two Moons chapters 1 through 9 for you. I just finished reading it and I want to do it right away. This you should be seeing this Tuesday morning. So, happy Tuesday morning. Happy second week of extended e-learning. So, let me dive right in. First off, I am obsessed with this book. I think it is so stinking good, and I totally wish we were reading it together. But so far, our main character is Sal, or Salamonica Tree Hiddle. Quite a name. Um, and she moved with her father. Her mother's MIA, apparently in Euclid. No, they just moved to Euclid. They're in Lewiston, Idaho. But we will go through more as we go through this packet. So I'm doing this packet right along with you. And once I upload this video and you watch it, you comment any questions you have. If I didn't answer one of your questions when I go through this packet, all you have to do is comment it below and we'll go through it. This is the way we're going to do it for now until I think of a better way. But I'm excited to review this story with you. So, the first thing in the packet was vocabulary. And there are a lot of different vocabulary words in this story for sure. But they gave you four words, and you had to pick which word didn't make sense and why the other ones did make sense. So, number one, plaster did not fit. The others were chisel, hammer, and level, and all of those words are alike because they are all tools. Number two was ornery, stubborn, cantankerous, and elderly. Elderly D does not fit. The other words all describe a type of behavior, a little bit like ornery behavior. Three, filly, bull, mare, and stallion. B, bull does not fit. All the others are related to horses. Four, defiant does not fit. And all the other ones, respectable, dignified, refined, those all describe good behavior. So defiant does not describe a good behavior. Five, omnipotent does not describe the other ones. The other ones describe brave behavior. And lastly, lane, turnpike, interstate, and freeway. Lane does not fit. The other one, turnpike, interstate, and freeway, they're all like high speed roads. So that is the first vocabulary page. If you have any questions on that, just comment below. Mrs. Kneifel, page 1, number whatever. I'll help you out. Moving on to our literacy devices. Here, Mrs. Kneifel's handwriting. I'm literally doing it with you. Point of view. We all know what point of view is. So far, Sal's pretty much telling the story, right? She's telling us like what's happening when she's with Phoebe, and there's like a narrator there, but she's the one telling the story to her grandparents. Simile. We talk about similes all the time, comparisons, yada yada yada. A simile is when we compare like grass. So my father plucked me like a weed and took me. So Sal is comparing herself to a weed. And what effects does this comparison have? I thought about this for a minute and I was like, a weed. A weed is nothing. A weed you can just pluck and move without a second thought. So I said, weeds can be easily moved. Not much effort when you have to pluck a weed. So it's like, if I saw a weed on the ground, I don't give it a second thought. I pluck it and I go on with my day. So Sal's saying, my father plucked me out of where I was and moved me without a second thought, without anything like that. Flashback. We know what a flashback is. That's when the author is giving us information from before the story happens. And one of the flashbacks in chapter 1 is when Sal was talking about her father chipping away at the plaster to find the brick fireplace. And lastly, a story within a story. Sal is telling her grandparents Phoebe's story, or as her grandma says, Phoebe. So silly. But we're learning about Phoebe's story, is the story within the story. And so far, like, the parallels that you might draw between the two stories, like Sal is like a main character in both of them. But we'll continue on. We'll figure out more of the parallels as we go on. Now on to our questions. So remember, you're either writing these questions on paper, well, not writing the questions, writing the answers on paper, or you are putting them on Google Classroom on the review questions doc. So, what evidence shows that Sal is not pleased with Euclid, Ohio? Obviously, she hasn't said a single good thing about it yet. She showed up there and she's like, wow, all these houses look like birdhouses. No swimming hole, no barn, no hogs, no nothing fun, just a tiny little room. She said the wee bathroom, just nothing really that good. As soon as they arrived there, she's like, "Oh, I forgot something. I forgot something underneath like the panels in my bedroom or the floor in my bedroom." So she's given us no good things about Euclid yet. Obviously, we know she's not pleased. Do you think Sal could have been happy in any new place? I feel like this is like a deep question. I'm kind of sad I put this like so far in the beginning because we know she literally feels like her father plucked her like a weed. So I don't think whether she would have went to freaking California or went to New York City, she ended up in Euclid, Ohio, but I don't think she was going to be happy no matter what. I think no matter what, she was going to find flaws a little bit. She didn't want to go necessarily. Who's Phoebe? Phoebe is the neighbor to Mrs. Cadaver, lives right next door to her, and she's also in Sal's class. She has a sister named Prudence, and she has two parents, Mr. and Mrs. Winterbottom. And Phoebe's got this crazy imagination that we're going to hear so much more about. Describe Graham and Gramps' plan. What reasons do they give for the trip? What does Sal think the underlying reason is? So, Graham and Gramps are, gonna just travel along the lovely United States. Let me find the exact reasons for us. That way I'm not lying to you guys. I just read all 9 of these chapters in a row. So, they're just traveling along and they told Sal, like, we need your help. We can't read a map. Graham and Gramps always getting in trouble. Always getting in trouble when they are on the way. But Sal thinks the real reasons are one, Graham and Gramps wanted to see Mama, who's resting peacefully in Lewiston, Idaho. And to me, resting peacefully, is she dead? I have no idea. But then later, Sal talks about bringing her mother home on her birthday. So confusing. Two, another reason Graham and Gramps knew I wanted to see Mama, but I was afraid to. And three, Dad wanted to be alone with red haired Margaret Cadaver. He had already seen Mama and had not taken her. So those are the real reasons Sal thinks for the trip. But Graham and Gramps were, oh, we need your map skills. And that's on page 4 and 5. So if you're writing the question to number 4 and 5 is where the answers are. How does Sal feel about the trip? I feel like Sal definitely has like I feel like she's kind of indifferent about the trip. Like I know that she like wants to go, but then again, it literally says she's feeling mixed. And she feels the sense of urgency. That's number 5. And she keeps on hearing in her head, hurry, 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 rush, rush, rush. And she's hearing this because she wants to get there by her mother's birthday. For whatever reason, she thinks if I find my mom on her birthday, I'm gonna be able to bring her home. So she's like, we have to get there. We have to get here. Why are we stopping? We have to get there. So she's really feeling this giant sense of urgency. And both Sal and her mother have unusual names. And what are their origin of their names? What do they mean? And how are their names similar? So, in case you couldn't pronounce Sal's mother's name, it was Chanhassen. So, Chanhassen was an Indian name, and it has to do with like sugar and a tree, like a sugar maple tree. So, oh yeah, Chanhassen is an Indian name meaning tree sweet juice, or in other words, maple sugar. So Sal's mom's name is Chanhassen, but everyone calls her Sugar except her mom's name. Then Salamonica Tree Hiddle is also a Native American name. They thought it was the name of great great grandmother's tribe, but it really wasn't. But they just had to go with it anyways. So Salamonica, and then Tree, named after the beautiful tree. They didn't wanted it to be Salamonica Sugar Maple Tree Hiddle, but that was a little bit long. So they both have to do with trees and nature and Native Americans. So those were 1 through 7 for chapter 3. And like I said on Friday when this was originally assigned, I'm not giving you like a word limit, a sentence limit. Just answer the questions to the best of your ability. Okay? Do your personal best. Then there was a writing activity, just one writing activity. Remember, the writing activities were to be answered on a different Google Doc. So Sal observes that when people expect you to be brave, you may pretend that you are, even when you're feeling frightened. Have you ever felt this way? Describe the experience. Oh my goodness. I hope all of you wrote something super good. Mrs. Knife feels this way all the time. When someone is depending on you to be brave, but really you're not brave. I think about this every single day, like when I walk my dog at night. I don't know if my dog can I really think Bristol can like feel my emotions. She's like really good at reading people, but like if I'm outside at night, I'm being brave for the dog. That way she can go potty and we can both make it back go back inside safely. Because if I'm panicking and I'm rushing her, she's not gonna be able to go potty and then she's gonna be all frantic and that's not gonna be good. Um your parents go through this all the time. They may be scared about something, but guess what? They act brave for you. At school, sometimes situations aren't that great, but guess what? Me, Mrs. Kneifel, I'm Mrs. Kneifel, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Siddick, we act brave for you guys. So I'm excited to read your guys' number one for the thing. I think that'll be really good. So that is all of chapter 1 through 3. Go us. All right. And then the next part was the map, and you should be working on your map. I know this is really hard to see, but as places come, you're going to find them. So far, I have Bybanks, Kentucky, which is right there on the edge of Kentucky, was where we started. That's where she was from. Then Euclid, Ohio is like in the middle of Ohio. And so far, we have traveled through Indiana. They stopped in South Bend and Elkhart, but they stayed the night in like Chicago, right outside Chicago. So far, we have this tiny little line. And I'm going to add to this the whole time. So keep this one safe. Now we are moving on to 4 through 9. Yeah. Okay. 4 through 9 had this super fun crossword. I thought it was super easy. I literally did it in like 2 minutes. So hope you guys had fun with the crossword. I'm glad they had something different. So number 3 is receptionist. That's workers who greet visitors, receive phone calls, make appointments. So anyone at like a doctor's office at the front desk, they're a receptionist. Negative reactions of the body to substances such as pollen, dust, animal hair. That's allergies. Mrs. Kneifel has some allergies. Not mine's like dust and stuff like that. 7, a long scarf of fur or feathers. That's a boa. A lot of dancers, like when I used to dance, I would have like a boa as part of my costume. It's literally like a long feather scarf. It's really cute. They can be. People don't really wear them today. Um, 8, reveal. Another word for reveal is divulge. I'm getting text messages from other teachers. 10, cruel or wicked is, where's number 10? Oh, diabolical. If someone's diabolical, they're cruel or wicked. I think of like a villain. And a dead body. Phoebe told us that one. Cadaver. And now we're going down. Wild disorder, uproar is pandemonium. And that's what they said the Finney's house was. Pandemonium. Everything was crazy. Sometimes I feel like at school, we are in total pandemonium. Prim and proper, 2 down, prissy. Something that causes destruction, 3 down is ruination, like destruction, ruin. I feel like those kind of went hand in hand. Fatty material found in animal tissue, that is cholesterol. So your butter, your meat, full of cholesterol. Mrs. Kneifel needs to work on her cholesterol. My good cholesterol is really low. My bad cholesterol is really high. Should probably work on that. An insane person is a lunatic, and twisted or disformed is gnarled. So that is my lovely, lovely word search or crossword. If you need help, again, all you have to do is comment below. Hey, word search 3 down. Can you help me? I'm totally going to help you. Now we're turning to the literacy devices of 4 through 9. Once again, we had more similes, which I like similes, and there are so many in this book. They really help. I just love when things can be compared to other things. So, a simile, something being compared to. So, the lake was as blue as the bluebells that grew behind the barn in Bybanks. I'm going to look up bluebells for us real quick. That way you can see. So, bluebell flowers are like super. That's kind of a bad picture. Super, super rich, beautiful blue. So the lake's color is being compared to bluebells or flowers. And the effects of the comparison, it's not just like your whitewashed, like lake. It is like a super deep blue that she's seeing. And then we had to scan chapters 4 through 9. And find similes that help you complete the following statements. So, Mrs. Cadaver's voice is compared to dead leaves blowing around, like that crinkly, eerie noise. Gramps and Gramps' ability to get into trouble is compared to a fly landing on a watermelon, which literally happens anytime there's a watermelon. Mrs. Cadaver's strength is compared to an ox. And Ben's eyes are compared to two sparkly black discs. And then the last one, literacy device for 4 through 9, it was a refrain. A refrain is a device that's mainly in music or poetry, and it's repeated. It's just a repeated phrase. So in music, the chorus, refrain, which we've talked about sometime before in school this year. So the refrain that keeps on being repeated so far in the story is hurry, 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 rush, rush, rush. And it's what Sal's hearing in her head. And she's hearing it thinking, I have to get there. I have to get to my mom by her birthday. That way I can bring her home. And I just feel like the effects of the refrain make us, the readers, like feel her anxiety too. Like we're feeling, oh my gosh, she needs to get there. We're not there yet. Let's hurry up. Like, rush, rush, rush. When I read that over and over, I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to get there. What is taking so long? So that is the refrain that we're hearing so far in the story. And that was page 7. We are done with page 7. Go us. I'm trying to keep my pages in order. So number 8 was the last page you had to do for this first week that I'm reviewing now. So you had 5 questions and 1 writing activity. So remember, review questions go on the review question document or handwritten. And then the writing activity goes on the writing activity document. So question 1. Why does Sal think it's remarkable that Mrs. Partridge correctly guesses Phoebe's age? Because she's blind. If you can't see someone, personally, I think it'd be really hard to know how old they are. I mean, she did touch Phoebe's face, but even that's amazing to me. Like, she heard her voice. She knew she was with Sal. She knew how old Sal was, but she found it remarkable because she just touched her face and was able to say how old she was. And Phoebe learned that Mrs. Partridge was blind. Phoebe didn't know that Mrs. Partridge was blind, so that was a surprising fact that Phoebe learned about Mrs. Partridge. Number 3, what memories does blackberry pie trigger for Sal? Not Sam, sorry. And the blackberry pie reminded Sal of her mother. It reminded her of this time when their father brought like flowers to her. Then her mother found blackberries and she was like crying that she wasn't going to be good enough to be a hiddle and all these crazy things. So there was all different things just from these tiny little blackberries. What unexpectedly appears at the Winterbottom's door? Who does the visitor wish to see? What does Phoebe suspect? And how does Mrs. Winterbottom react to the news? So, unexpectedly at the Winterbottom's door is a boy, like a man, like a teenager. He was like, 17, tight jeans, black t-shirt. And he wants to see Mrs. Winterbottom. And Phoebe's like, oh, yeah, she's here. And then she's like, oh, wait, she's not here. But there's tons of other people. Don't worry. And Phoebe's like, oh, my gosh, he's a lunatic. He's crazy. And, Sal's like, yeah, he just wanted to talk to your mom. I don't think it's a big deal. And Mrs. Winterbottom said she was upset by the news and she didn't want to tell Mr. Winterbottom about it. She was like, let's not tell your father. And Phoebe thought that was weird because their parents normally tell each other everything. So, and then lastly, what message did the girls find on this porch? Who seems the most upset by the message? Let me go read the message exactly. That way I'm not lying to you guys. The first message was on page 51. Don't judge a man until you've walked 2 moons in his moccasins. I feel like it was like kind of a tie between Phoebe and her mom, Mrs. Winterbottom, who was more upset. Phoebe was like super confused and wanted answers, but Mrs. Winterbottom was like, who could it be for, George? George, what do you think it's for? Phoebe, was this for you? And she was asking all these questions. And it literally ended with, well, who is it for? Mrs. Winterbottom says. She was awfully worried. I believe she thought it came from a potential lunatic. Personally, I feel like Phoebe's family, a little bit on the crazy side. Not really sure what's going on there. Can't wait to learn more about them. So those were your questions, your review questions. And now moving on to the writing activity number 2. And that was, Sal describes Phoebe as having a vivid imagination. Would you agree with this description? Why or why not? So this is a total opinion question. Do you think she has a vivid imagination? A vivid imagination is like like someone that can just like look at a balloon and see a monster or something like that. She sees a lunatic just from someone knocking on her door. And, you know, I don't know. She describes things with such passion. I think Phoebe definitely has a super vivid imagination. I was trying to think of a student like who I could describe it as like one of you guys, but I couldn't really think of someone to describe it as. But definitely I think she has a vivid imagination because she's able to describe stuff with such passion and such in depth. And she's also really like she can easily talk herself into anything. Like a person at the door she can believe is a lunatic. Like she thinks Sal is so unbelievably brave because she touched a spider. Like, okay, well, I'm first off, I'm not touching no spider, but that's okay. So, I definitely think she has a vivid imagination. Once again, I'm excited to read your number 2. I'm so excited to read all of your guys' writing activities. I think the writing activities are like the most fun where you get to like just answer what you think. So those are all of the questions and stuff for chapters 1 through 9, which is what you were supposed to do on week 1. So, after this video, you should be completely done with week 1 stuff and you should be able to head right on to week 2. And then, so the following week, next week, I'll be posting the video for week 2. But I want you to try to do it on your own. And then I'll help give you some answers and some tips. I'm obsessed with this book. I actually might read you guys a few chapters myself and upload it just because I think it's fun. Feel free to comment whether you're looking it up on YouTube or you're reading it yourself. It is a pretty speedy read if you're reading it yourself, I think. But remember to stay on top of it. That way you aren't falling behind. Because I want everyone to have this done by spring break. At least I hope. I know it's kind of a lot, but that's why I'm helping you out with some of it for sure. I'm going to try to help you guys get some answers. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I will totally answer them. Because the question you have, someone else might have too. So just ask it. Remember, once again, all the vocabulary and literacy devices you should be writing in the packet. The review questions you may write on separate paper or the Google Doc provided on your Google Classroom under review questions. Same with the writing activities. Writing activities go on a different Google Doc. It says writing activities or on separate paper. And remember to do your map. I'm going to do the map too. I'm excited. It's a cool little path as we finish. So happy e-learning. Walk to Moons is so good. I love you all. I miss you all bunches. I hope to hear from you guys soon. Please email me, drop comments. I'm excited to hear from you guys. Hope you guys aren't too bored. Make sure you look at all your other classes stuff as well. And I will talk to you guys soon. Happy e-learning.